Okay, so I don't know what happened to our actual unlocked and working template, and I apologize for that, for not having checked it. I assumed that it was the same one that we've used for the last 5 classes. So what this does down here is it takes all the hours that and makes sure that they're allocated to a service line. So the 203 hours that is spent on each is spent on the service line, and it takes out that administration time. So then you break out the administration, how many hours in administration that they do down here. I said 200, half of the director's time is spent on administration, then 22 hours a year. That's probably really low for what the tech spends on administration. And then you have the opportunity to say what those hours are spent on. Down here, this isn't going to be required. It's saying, so we'll do 203. It is required just to make sure that everything is accounted for. Any questions on that? Why we got distracted with the unlocking of the spreadsheet? What you're doing here, what we're doing with this tab specifically.
So you said that it would take 16, 22 hours to do what the work?
So out of the 2,080 hours that are workable a year, that's 52 weeks times 40. That's how many hours people work a year. 1,622 of those are things that we can actually bill for. So if you wanted to be able to recoup all of my salary, right? I need to come up with an hourly rate.
One person dedicated to do this work.
Well, that's what you do down in these boxes down here. So if you notice, so for service line 1, on this first tab, we said, well, what are our services? I'm going to put descriptions here. So for service line 1, here's what our service is. For service line 2, et cetera, that's what we're doing. So test A, test B, test C. Then over here on the second tab on the effort billing, we first figure out in the first section how many hours do each of these people work and what of their hours can we bill for. So out of the director, we're only going to bill for 406 hours. For the 2 techs, we can bill for 1,600 hours and 1,622 each. Then in this next section, this is where we got kind of crazy because of the formulas. We say for each of those hours, so the spreadsheet brought those numbers that were here, they brought them down to here. So and lined them out by person. We say out of the 10 directors' time, how much of that is spent on just doing administration work for the service, for the core. And about 50% of his time is spent, or her time is spent on administration time. Then you want to say out of what's remaining of their hours for the 3 tests that we did, how much time does the director spend on those? And we say that he spends 100 hours on this one, 50 on this one, and 0 on service 3. But then we do the same thing for our techs. For our 2 technicians, they don't typically do administration stuff, but occasionally we have them do that. So I just put 22 hours on administration, just because a little bit of their time might be spent on those things. And then we break it up into, you could do it one way. If you have one tech who only does the one service, put all 1,600 hours on that one service. But if they do a little bit of each, you want to break up their hours across each service line. So that's what we did here. I just did it even, but you can do it any way that you want. If one tech does 50-50 on service 1 and 2, and the other tech does 50-50 on 2 and 3, split it up however you want. If you got it wrong, yes, because we're going to put in, eventually we'll put in the hour, like the next tab, we're going to put in the salaries for those people. So, but you want your fees to be as accurate as you can get them. So if those people are really doing the work, you want their salaries to be attributed to that so you get the correct cost. But that is one of the areas, if you're like, oh, this is too expensive, you can shift things around. But
break down the full 16
yes.
Those lines, the services across the line have to equal
Yes.
15, 20, 30, you can't move on.
Right. And then so out of the 6, so you say which service the hours are on. And before we send this out, I will go through and make sure I will make sure all the formulas are correct, so you won't have to worry about unlocking it. I will give you the unlocking code, but I will go through and make sure everything's properly working. But yes, you'll want to allocate all the hours to your service lines, because then it's going to take you down to this bottom section and say, okay, well, you said these hours for the service lines, here's the total that you have for the service lines. And then it says how many hours are broken down into providing the direct service, and then how many are spent supporting the service line. Does that, the difference between those make sense? If you're, so it'll be built in a different way, which you'll see on the next tab. So then with administration, you'll want to put in, it brings down how many hours you said. If it's supervising the facility, then you'll put it all towards there. If it's going to conferences or doing trainings and those types of things, you'll want to break out. If there's something else, you can fill in this box. It's just other time away from providing the services, and then break it down. And then it'll tell you if everything adds up correctly.